Parshat Yitro. So, I want to start with Hashem Mishmuel, number 1. Oh, okay, good. Start with Hashem Mishmuel. So you have it at the beginning of the Parsha. Yitro leaves home in Midian to come and visit Machane Yisrael, to come to the camp of the Jewish people, and to see his son-in-law, Moshe Rabbeinu. Vayishtachu, vayishlach lo. It says, and he bowed down and he kissed him. Rashi, Eini yidea mi yishtacha lo mi. I don't know who bowed down to who. The Torah is not clear. Oh, first of all, for the 3rd week in a row, we're going to learn for Refuah Shlema, for Beryl Ben Fega, and it's been working, our learning, and we even have Dorain here. Chazak v'amatz, should be strong. Mietz Hashem. Good news is continually around the corner. Mietz Hashem. Refuah Shlema. Okay, so Rashi says we don't know who bowed down to who. Did Yisro bow down to and kiss? Who bowed down? Who kissed who? Kishu Omer Ish l'rei, but the pasuk says Vayishtachu Ish l'reihu. Ish, a man bowed down to his friend, right? Mi hakarui Ish. Who's called Ish in the Torah? Zeh Moshe. Shenemar v'ha'ish Moshe. The pasuk refers to Moshe as Ish. There is a pasuk, and so we know that Moshe bowed down to Yisro, and Moshe kissed Yisro. Ubi Mechilta, in the Medrash, where Rashi, with the source of what Rashi said, he expands on a little bit longer. Ubi Mechilta, the original text, Haloshon, Eini Yodea mi hishtacha ve'elemi. I don't know who bowed down to who. Umi nashak lemi, and who kissed who. Haviomer lo hishtachave v'lo nashak ela Moshe lechamav. The Medrash says no. It was Moshe who bowed down and kissed his father-in-law. Nira lefaresh. So let's explain what's going on here. What was the significance? I mean, this is a kind of I would say a biblical sidelight. This is not the kind of stuff that the Torah tells us, right? You know, he made a left turn, he stopped at the light, you know, he bowed down and he kissed him. And then the major thing is the conversation they had. They had a world-changing conversation where Yisro, asked Moshe, what are you doing? He was worried about him. He's working too hard. You're paskening all the shilas. You've got to, we talked about this, I think, a year ago. You've got to reform the judicial system. Right, you've got to appoint courts, higher courts, lower courts, and divide up the obligation here. You can't take this on yourself. So there's a machlokus whether Yisro was before Matan Torah this came or after Matan Torah. But according to both opinions, he converted, right? But this seems to me to be a proof that he never converted, because I don't know a Jewish father-in-law, that is concerned that his son-in-law is working too hard. It's working too hard, right? Anyway, that's just a joke. But so this seems to be a kind of, ancillary comment to, why is it so important? Who bowed down to who and who kissed whom? So according to the Shem Shmuel, he brings a beautiful idea that there's much more here than meets the eye. Nira lefaresh. Let me attempt to explain. Inyan. Let me explain the idea of bowing and of kissing. Shel Moshe Yitro, of Moshe to his father-in-law. Al pi masha kvod kedushat avi admor. I'm going to quote my father, the Avnei Nezer. B'mesha shalach Yitro leMoshe, when he says to him, Ani chotnacha, I'm your father-in-law, Yitro. Bo elecha, I'm coming to you. I'm coming. That's who I'm. He sent a message. Yitro, your father-in-law is coming, right? Say begini, come out to meet me. She'einenu chas v'shalom bakashat kavod, because you can say to yourself, well, Yisro was not a kavod person. He was a very humble person. And he wasn't saying, you have to come to me, right? Ela Shabikesh Moshe, she ate say, what was he asking him? This is a very deep idea, right? There's another approach, this I'll tell you at the end of this piece, but this is a very deep concept. When he said, come out for me, basically meant, come down for me. Shabikesh Moshe siyatsa mimadregato hapnimit v'hanelemet. That Moshe should leave his high plateau. Moshe was on the highest level of spirituality of anybody in the world. I want to have a relationship with you. I can't begin to relate with you. You know, it's like somebody, you don't speak the language, right? So here, there's nothing I can't. I want to have a relationship with you. V'shapil et atzmo elav. I want you. So what Moshe did is he lowered himself to his father-in-law's level, in order for Yitro to attach himself to Moshe Rabbeinu, right? So they said. Remember, I saw once on Maisa that, in Europe you had all the shuls, like they had, a builder's shul, a tailor's shul, this kind of thing. So once they were looking for the Chavetz Chaim, and he was standing at the door of the tailor's shul, talking to a bunch of tailors for a few minutes. He went to them, and he was schmoozing with them, right? Right, to make everybody feel everybody's important, right? So, but Yisro wanted Moshe to lower himself to be on his level, and to elevate him up, right? He wanted him to, Yerida Shehu Aliyah, L'Shem Aliyah. He wanted him to come down in order to take Yisro up with him, right? V'zehu ha'inyan hishtachava, Moshe liYitro. That was Moshe's bowing down to Yisro. It means that whether he did actually bow down to him or it's metaphoric, right? That he really didn't bow, but it means that he lowered himself to his father-in-law, right? There were no airs about Moshe Rabbeinu when he met his father-in-law. Hainu shehishpil et atzmo elav. He lowered himself to his father-in-law. V'inyan hanashikin. What about kissing? Hu hatiit davkut rucha berucha. A kiss is spirit to spirit. You can't get more intimate than that. By the mouth, the peh is the source of our neshama, right? God blew the neshama into our mouth. So when two mouths come together, this is a coming together of real spirituality, real panemius, real internal relation. So after he lowered himself, he synthesized his ruach, his spirituality, with his father-in-law. That's the meaning of the kiss. Did he kiss him? We don't know if he kissed him, right? But what it means is he kissed him in a metaphoric sense, that they joined together in a tremendous dveikut, a tremendous symbiosis. And he brought him up to higher levels. That's what he did. That's what was going on. And I'll give you an example. This is actually like the real kisses. Shenemru benomi l'Rut v'Orpa. In Megillat Ruth, we read Shavuos, right? The story of Ruth and Naomi and Orpah, right? The two widows, right? And they came with Naomi, and she wanted them to. They didn't want. She wanted them to be safe, and Naomi Ruth insisted on going with her, but Orpah said, "I'm going my own way," right? Shapirish, Kvod Kedushas Avi Admor. So my father again, right? Shekavonas Naomi ledabek rucha berucha. Why she kissed them? She kissed them and said, "You go," right? She kissed them, and they kissed back, right? She wanted to attach them again with her spirituality, right, Naomi? Kedei la'alos anima, to elevate them to her level. However, Eitzel Orpah lo ilu. It didn't help with Orpah. Orpah left her, right? And she returned to her people and her gods, her idol worship. Sharucha haya nimshach achar, I'm sorry. Ach etzel Orpah lo ho'ilu, sharucha haya nimshach achar ruach nami, sheichnisa bo. Nomi wanted to have this relationship with Orpah. V'zeh v'tishak Orpah l'chamota. And it says that Orpah kissed her mother-in-law Nomi. Hainu shehichzira rucha. She returned the kiss. Not she returned it in a positive way. She gave it back to her. She kissed her goodbye. That's the essence of what went on here, right? V'hi shabo al nama v'hi shabo el ama ve'el Eloha. We know she went back to her people and her gods, and the Medrash says it was terrible what she did when she went back. Her znus, her promiscuity was beyond anything. Verut dav kaba, the pasuk says. Ruth attached herself to Naomi with the kiss, right? Shenimshecha achar Naomi, she followed her, right? Where you go, I will go, right? That's interesting, by the way. Where everybody knows that pasuk, right? Wherever you will go, I will go. That's what Ruth said to Naomi. But it's interesting. She didn't say, to every place you go, I'll go to that place. All right, you want to move to Eretz Yisrael? Okay, I'll move to Eretz Yisrael. You want to move to China? Okay. You want to move to Yerushalayim? Okay. You want to live in Shomron? Okay, right? That's not what she said. I don't care where you're going. Wherever you go, I will go. They were attached to each other. It was a trust in Naomi. I don't care where you're going, because I know wherever you're going to take me, it's the right place to be, right? Let's get back to Moshe and Yitro. That's exactly what happened with Moshe and Yitro. Sharuach Yitro nimshach tekef elav. The ruach of Yitro was magnetically attached to Moshe Rabbeinu. V'alkein ktiv, and I'll tell you, that's why it says Yishalu ish l're'ehu. The pasuk says, right? He asked Moshe ish l're'ehu, Moshe to his reya. Now the word reya, afshare'ehu l'miyute goy. You know that reya is a word that means friend. Love your neighbor, friend. Reya means friend, right? Chaver. But reya in the Torah is specifically for a Jew, not a goy. So that means v'zeh od terem shenit gayer. This is before Yitro had officially converted. So he was on a level already. He elevated himself to such a level, right, that he was like an unofficial ger at this point, right? Tekef biroto oto, when he saw him, there was this tremendous coming together. Mikol makom, that being said, ma'achar sherucho nidvakbo, since his spiritual, they were attached to each other, v'nimshach elav shuv nikra ro'eu. He was now called a reya, even though he wasn't officially, but he was a reya already. V'ke'ein hakosav v'nami v'rus, similar to Naomi and Ruth, v'telachna shteihem. When Naomi and Ruth left, Orpah went the other way. It said v'telachna shteihem. They walked, the two of them. Rashi, kivan shenotna daita lihitgayer, since she had decided she's going to convert, hishava ota hakatuv l'nami. She was attached to Naomi, shneihem, together. V'dugma today. Give you an example. Yesh lomar nami b'matan Torah. Another example. The hadveikut nikru nishikin. The attachment of Bnei Yisrael at Har Sinai to HaKadosh Baruch Hu was called the kissing of accepting the Torah, right? K'moshe Katuv, it's a pasuk in Shir HaShirim. Yishkeni minashikat pihu, right? The kisses of your mouth. Now, it could very well be, everybody knows this, to kiss the Sefer Torah, right? We kiss the Sefer Torah, right? Who knows if this doesn't come from this moment at Kabbalas HaTorah at Har Sinai, where the attachment of Bnei Yisrael to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Torah, Kaviyachol to Hashem, was of kissing. That was a full acceptance of everything the Rebbeinu Shem gave and making it a part of them, right? I knew Al Pi Masha Amru. It's a Gemara in Yevamos ki Moshe haya hagon l'lmod, because the truth is Moshe haya hagon l'lmod Torah mipi Gvura. Moshe was on a level to learn Torah with the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Gemara says, right? V'kal v'chomer Yisrael. But what about Yisrael? Now the Neshikot brought them up to his level. Al kein hayu hadibrot bivchinat neshikin. So the mitzvahs, the 10 commandments were kisses. Shehadibur atzmo nidvak beruchan. That the words coming from the Rabbanu Shalom actually were like kisses to the Bnei Yisrael, right? Ubezeh nitalu sheyu ru'uyin l'shaitan, and it's because of this that they elevated themselves. Lilmod Torah mipi agvura, to learn Torah from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Now I just want to interject something here, because I heard last night, I was listening to a shir that my brother-in-law gave yesterday on Yitro, and he expounded a comment of Rav Shamshon Raphael Hirsch on the Parshat. It was actually a very brilliant Rabbi Nehemiah Taylor, by the way, for those of you who don't know him. And he said that what Hirsch says, a monumental piece in Hirsch, that the uniqueness of Judaism is not a religion. Judaism is not a religion, it's an am. You know, all kinds of psukim in our parsha and throughout Shmos, that it's an am. We're a people. What does it mean? It's not a religion, right? It's not about a shul and even religious people coming together to daven. This is not Judaism. Judaism is about collective, about a people who have a relationship with God, and it's not about getting it from some human being. That's the uniqueness of Kabbalah's HaTorah, was that it wasn't Muhammad, Khalilullah, coming down from a mountain and giving over. No, it was the Rebbeinu Shalom spoke to all of Klal Yisrael, heard the Rebbeinu Shalom. It was direct. Now the first two dibros they heard directly, but it was neshikin. It was coming from the Rebbeinu Shalom. Everything came directly from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? That's the uniqueness of this relationship. An intimate relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's how the Torah began. That's how we got it, and that's how we live. And it's not just about religion, right? It's that relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu together as an am, as a people, can carry. That's why we say Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh B'zeh. It's much more than what we call religion, right? It's caring for each other. It's right. Okay, I can't do justice to it, but that's really what Hirsch says. So that's what he's saying here now. V'yesh lomar, I want to give you a PS. He says Shabbos, Shabbat atzmo nami yesh lo skulazu. Shabbos has this idea. She l'ragle Roma Musa, because of the extraordinary loftiness of the Kiddush of Shabbos, ein ha'adam hagon l'kabel es haShabbos el sha'nashamas ha'yisera. We can't. How do we mekabel Shabbos? We're not on a level to mekabel Shabbos. Shabbos is on such a high level. How can we really grasp it and appreciate it? So you know what he says? A very Hasidic idea, Kabbalistic idea. El sha'nashamas ha'yiseres yordin u'misdavkin b'nishmos Yisrael b'chinas neshikin. That every Jew gets a neshama yitera, an extra neshama on Shabbos. That neshama yisera comes down and kisses our neshama and makes it possible for us to appreciate, to elevate ourselves to the level of Shabbos. Lahalotan liot ru'uyin l'kabbalat haShabbat. So we should be on a level to accept Shabbos. V'zeu she'omrim b'zmiros. He quotes from Zmiros. Okay, good. Very nice piece from the Shemi Shmuel. Now let's go to number 2, is the Nefesh HaRav. This is a piece from Rav Hershel Schachter of his Rebbe, Rav Soloveitchik. Zachoret Yom HaShabbos, look, we have the Aseres and Dibros in the Parsha. Zachoret Yom HaShabbos, the Kadsha. Remember the Shabbos, to make it holy. Umevur beGemara Brachas. The Gemara, what does it mean to remember Shabbos? The Mihach Kra Yalfina, from this passage we learn, Shekiddush Hayom Dvar Torah. That saying Kiddush on Shabbos is a mitzvah in the Torah. To be Mekadosh Shabbos, to make Kiddush on Shabbos, is a mitzvah d'oraisa, like tzedakah, like any other mitzvah, like tefillin, like whatever. Making Kiddush on Shabbos is a mitzvah d'oraisa, right? And that's what the part. Zachor et Yom HaShabbat l'kadsha. Remember it, to make it, to sanctify it, right? Now, Sheviat mashmos teva zachor. But he explained, what does zachor mean? To remember. Lo beloshen liskor zu gedenken in Yiddish. as opposed to forget. I forgot, I remember. Gedenken. No, it's not just I remember. Oh, I forgot. Now I'll remember, right? Ela miloshen lahazkir. It's a much stronger level. In Yiddish, it's dermanen. It's not just, it's lahazkir. That's we are articulated. We internalize it. Do I remember? Do I remember him? I think about him every minute, right? I think about him all the time, right? Do I remember? So remember, yeah, I remember Shabbos. I have to remember Shabbos, right? No. Shabbos lahazkir, to internalize it, to articulate it. The mitzvah is to articulate Kiddush, the sanctity of Shabbos. We have to make a bracha on it, right? V'chein darshu chachmenu b'mishnah brachas, and the rabbis say this to learn on a mission in Masechet Shabbos over the page. It's a Gemara in Shabbos Yud Beis. The pasuk says, "Leman tizkor et yom seitcha me'eretz Mitzrayim." You should remember the day that you went out of Egypt, right? Kol yemei chayecha, every day of your life. Miloshen la'azkir, right? Ke'ilu ksiv tazkir, right? I want you to, V'kachi b'Gemara Megillah. The Gemara Megillah says, "Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek." Remember what Amalek did to you. Mimai dahai zechira kriya. Why do you have to read it? Dilma iyun be'almeh. Just think about it. Lo salkadai. Don't think that. The Tanya Zachor. So you have to remember. I believe Yachol. Believe maybe in my heart. No. Kshomer lo tishchach. Don't forget. All kinds of repetitive phrases about Amalek. Hare shichat leiv emor. That's already, you can't forget. But hamani mekayim zachor bepeh. You have to articulate it. Lazkir, you have to articulate it. Kilomar shemikoach kra, the power of the pasuk. The lo tishkach, don't forget yadina lefaresh tevat zachor miloshen lahazkir. It's not just remember as opposed to forget, right? But I have to articulate it. The lo miloshen lizkor, just to remember, right? Od b'gemara Megillah. Another thing, Shekol HaMekor Chovat Mikra Megillah. What's the mitzvah of laning the Megillah? Right? Hu Mikra, it's from a pasuk in the Megillah. Dichsiva Hayamim Ha'ela Nizkarim V'na'asim. These days of Purim, right, the 14th and the 15th, are to be remembered and observed. What's not enough to say observed? To be remembered. That's why you have to lane the Megillah. Shehivinu tevat niskarim miloshen la'azkir. You have to lane the Megillah. You have to read it, right? You have to read it. You have to internalize it. Now he says something very special about Pesach. Ulai zeh shenitkaven harambam. And perhaps this is what the Rambam means. The Rambam says in Hilchos Chametz U'Matzah, Laws of Pesach, he says, mitzvot asay shel Torah l'saper b'nisan b'niflot shenasu lavotenu b'mitzrayim b'leil tetvav b'nisan. There's a mitzvah in the Torah to go over, to speak about the miracles that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for us on the night of Pesach. Shenemar zachor, where does it come from? Pasuk, zachor et hayom hazeh asher yitzata mitzrayim. Remember the day that you left Mitzrayim. Kimosh, the Rambam continues. That should be enough. What does he have add now? Listen to what he adds. Kimosha Nemar, the same way that it says, Zachor et Yom HaShabbat, that you have to remember Shabbat, right? V'kfar amdu ha'achronim al kavanar. All the later rabbis ask, what does the Rambam mean? Why does he have to add this for? Ma ratzalomar b'mashikotiv Kimosha Nemar Zachor et Yom HaShabbos, right? What did he mean by this, right? So he wants to say, "V'ulai yesh lomar." Maybe you can say that. That's exactly the point. He says it's a mitzvah to remember everything the Rebbe Hashem did to us the night of Pesach, but like the way you're supposed to remember Shabbos. Now, what did the Rambam say? The mitzvah of remembering Shabbos is to articulate it, lahazkir, right? So perhaps zui kavanato shekemo shekiblu chachmenu zal b'havonas hakra, just like the rabbis understood the pasuk of Zachor et Yom HaShabbat. L'kadsho, to sanctify it, shubi loshen lahazkir. You have to articulate it. Kimoken kiblu afkan lepekesha likra l'zachor and hayom hazeh. Also by Pesach night, it has to be. You have to articulate it. That's why you have to talk about it. You have to internalize it, right? Shu gam ken miloshin lahazkir. Velo sagi. It's not enough be'iyun ba'alma. Thinking about it. I'm going to think about it. It's not enough to think about it, right? Ella be'inyan dafka shisaper bepeh. You have to discuss it with your mouth. Benisim beniflos. In fact, I saw one Pirush wants to say, one Rav wants to say that you're not Yotze, Sipri Yitzis Mitzrayim, if you don't say something new. You don't ask a good kasha you didn't ask before, and you have a terrace you didn't have before. You have to say something new, something different, right? That's a tremendous challenge. I have a different approach that I was thinking about all week about this. What the connection is to Yetzias Mitzrayim. That's the Rambam, and he says just like by Shabbos. And I decided that I'm going to use this for Shabbos Agorol Drosha. So I haven't worked it out yet, but I will share it with you at some point. But you all see in person. You're right down the street. So we'll get there another time. This is not for now. Okay. Let's go to the third piece here. We did this last week also. Chamin B'Motzei Shabbat. This is from the Tolna Rebbe. We talked about him last week. The Tolna Rebbe, one of the great Hasidic Rebbes in Yerushalayim, and on the Parsha. Okay. Hine, be'inyan zeh, we have Kabbalah Torah here, right, in the Parsha, right? 3 days, Bnei Yisrael had to prepare themselves in purity, couldn't touch the mountain, right? There was thunder, there was lightning, there was a shofar. Hine, be'inyan zeh shel haluchot harishonot. This is the first, remember, we blew it after the luchot, after this Parsha, right? We worshiped the golden calf, the Egel Hazav. So then we had to do tshuva, and the Rebbe Shem came and gave the Torah a second time, right? So he's asking a question like this. Hine, be'inyan zeh shel haluchot harishonot, shenitnu begalu befarhesia. The first Torah was given to us with a tremendous publicity, right? Bekolot v'vrakim, with thunder and lightning, sound and light show. La'avdil. B'vchinat lo merosh b'seiter dibarti. I didn't speak to you at the beginning quietly. I didn't whisper it in your ear, right? Isa Medrash says, Luchot Rishonot al shanitnu bepumbi. The first luchot, because they were given publicly, lefichach shalta ben ayin hora v'nishtabru. That's why they were broken. It was a kind of ayin hora. There was too much attention drawn, public attention drawn, right? Because really, what's the essence of Torah? The essence of Torah is the internal person, right? Is that what it makes a kind of a person it makes us, right? Not the external stuff, not the externalities, right? So there was so much emphasis on the externalities, kind of gave the Torah and Klal Yisrael an ayin hora, and led to the Egel Hazav and smashing the luchos. V'kan amar lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and this Medrash continues, therefore, because of this, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, listen, we learned our lesson. Ein lecha yafeh min hatzniut. There's nothing more beautiful than tznius. There's nothing more loud and lightning and sound than the lack of lightning and sound, than the quietude, than the reticence, than the privacy, the humility, all the words that describe tznius. Tznius is not just how we dress, although it's that too, but tznius is about our deportment, how we talk. Modesty, right, it has to include an element of modesty also, right. So, Shenemar, as he quotes a pasuk in Micha, Uma Hashem Doresh Micha. What the Navi Micha asks, what does God ask of you? You want to know what he asks of you? Ask me. You come ask a shayla to the Navi. What does God want from me? You want to know what God wants from you? Ki'im aseh mishpat, oseh mishpat. Do justice, right? Follow the law. V'ahavas chesed, and love doing kindness. V'hatzneya lechet, and walk with tznius. Those are the three elements that the prophet Micha, the Navi Micha, says that's what you have to be. You want to know? That's the answer to the question. Okay, So now he's going to quote from the Sfas Emes. He's going to ask a kasha from the Sfas Emes. V'hiksha Rabba Kodesh Sfas Emes, the Ger Rebbe, B'sifra Kodesh, in his V'zel Shona. Here's the question he asks. Quote, B'Rashi, Rashi says, Ein l'cha yafeh min hatzniut. There's nothing better than modesty, than tzniut. Like this reticence, quietude, right? Privacy, internal, not external. V'kasha, I have a question. Lama lo natan gam harishonot b'tzina. So why wasn't the Torah given the first time in tznius? Why was there all this publicity, right? What, the Rebbe Shem didn't know? Why did the Rebbe Shem do it this way? There has to be a reason why the Rebbe Shem did it, even though he knew that we were going to fall because of it. But there's a utility to it. There's an importance to it, right? Aval bevadai shneim tzrichim. The truth is, the Sfas Emes says, you need both. You need both. You need the passion. You need the emotion. You need the excitement. And you also need to roll up your sleeves privately and open up the Gemara and open up the Chumash and to open up the Siddur and open up the Tilim and have those moments, private moments of dveikut, of attachment to a Kodesh Baruch Hu that are private and not public. You need both. Kilule hitlavut hakodem bepirsum. If not for the beginning, that excitement at the beginning, that public display of passion, lo hayach kach yicholat leilech derech tzniut. We wouldn't be able to get on with our work in the privacy. Rak al yedei shekfar higdimu bekole kolot nitkayem achar kach tzniut. It's only because we had that. Remember, Moshe wanted to take Bnei Israel into the desert for 3 days, to have a Shabbaton, to offer korbanot, to have an emotional experience, a public emotional experience with Klal Yisrael, and in order to make it, they'd be able to live with the horrors of Egypt. They continue to live in their privacy there, right? This is coming to teach us. Ki betchila, at first, tzarach liot bihit lahavut atzum. There has to be, don't hold back, right? A bar mitzvah, a wedding, right? Now, we know that what's going to maintain a marriage is not going to be how good the band was, right? And how wonderful it was, and how good the food was, and how good the smorgasbord was, right? That's not going to guarantee the wedding, right? But you need that beginning, right? For every rite of passage, you need something very special. V'im ki lo yeh nishar zot ha'itlavut. And if this passion does not remain, davar shel kiyumo, that that has to remain. It has to be in existence. Im kol zeh, even though he says it doesn't last, right? Im kol zeh hu hachana gam limei hayerida achar kach. It is the beginning of what has to come afterwards, right? Alibud ha'olam midivrei asfadem. What do you get from this Sfas Emes? Shebedarkei avoda, in serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? This is the way the Torah was given. So this is how we live our lives as Jews. Tzarech tamid leilech bebeit bechinot. You have to balance both of these things, right? The passion and the tznius, right? V'tchila tzarech la'avod b'vchinat hafarhesia b'kolot uvrakim. You have to start, you have to have an opening session, right? We know this is how society works, right? You always have an opening, right? That's all you have to say, an opening. Everything. A business has an opening. A shul is a Chanukas Habayis, right? When you have a new shul, you have a new yeshiva, you have a Chanukas Habayis, right? And it's a celebration, right? So you need la'avod b'vchinat parhesia kol subrachim. You need the sound and light show. B'chinat, but based on this pasuk, lo merosh Beiseiser Dibarti, the Rebbe Shem says, I'm not speaking to you privately at the beginning. It's got to be public. The Torah has to be given with publicity, right? B'hislavut, with the passion, with emotion. Hachi gadol as much as possible. Va'atzuma u'pirsum b'kol hachi gadol, lightning and thunder. Va'achar kach, but afterwards, second luchos were given very privately. Va'achar kach b'shvil kiyum hadover, in order for it to last. The excitement, the band, the music, the food, that's not going to keep it. That's not what's going to keep it, right? Tzarech Leilech b'derech hatzniut dafka. It has to be tznius. It has to be with quietude. It has to be in privacy. V'leida shebe'emet ein lecha yafeh min hatznius. So you should know nothing is better than tznius, as Rashi had said. V'kol bechina ru'uya matima l'shaita v'tzorach latzeit yidei shneim. Each in its place, each in its time. And he gives a mashal. Kach lemashal, kasher yeled matchil lilmod chumash. When a child starts to learn chumash, mishnayos, or gemara, haderech hi la'asot et hadavar bepirsum gadol. You make a party b'mesibas mareim u'mitoch hitlavus hatzuma. You know, the minig was in Europe, and it's still done in many places. That when the kids start learning the aleph base, so they give them honey, and they put the honey on the letters of the aleph base. Today it's a little more modern. They make cookies. Aleph base gimel dal the kids get, right. It's an excitement, right. I have to share with you. Last week, one of my grandchildren started learning Gemara, right, and they had our daughter-in-law sent us a video of the Haschalas Gemara Suda. They had a party for the beginning of Gemara. Now, it was incredible. All the boys were dressed in their Shabbos clothes. There was a choir. There was a choir master. They sang in a choir. They had solos. And then there was a beautiful Suda. And each kid spoke at the Suda, right? All the Rabbeim were there, the Rosh Yeshivas. This is grade 5, right? This is grade 5. Now, for sure, he says, Amnam, Achar ha'it lavur agdola, after the party's over, right? Tzarach lilamed et hayeled lelech b'tznius. You have to teach the child. Now you got to learn seriously, right? You got to learn, right? Shelo lefarsem b'kol gadol et asher hu lomed. You don't have to publicize everything you learn. What you accomplish in learning, it's your business. Don't start telling everybody how much you know, right? It has to be private. Elohut tzarach la'amol v'lilmod b'hatznei lechet. Have to learn quietly, privately. It's a personal thing. Talmud Torah. You don't tell people what you know. The Gemara in Bava Metzia actually says one of the 3 things you're not supposed to share is mesechta, what you're learning, what you know. You don't discuss what I know. Let me tell you what I know in Torah, right? V'kachu b'chol davar b'chol inyan shel hatchala. He says this is like anything else. Like we said, a business has an opening day special, right? Kamo bar mitzvah, he says, like a bar mitzvah. V'nesuin, a wedding, he says, gam heim tchilasin, that's the beginning, right? Shebetchilat tzarech hadavar le'asot b'farhesi gedola, uv'hit lavud atzum, it has to be with excitement, right? V'achakach b'shvil l'kayim et hadavar, but in the end of the day, in order for it to be lasting, to be a davar shel kiyum, to be a lasting thing, tzarech la'achoz b'darkei hatzniut. Then it has to be, you have to be, they say in Yiddish, behalten. It has to be private. Beis bechinas halal, these 2 ideas, these 2 dimensions of avoda, bechinat haluchot harishonot, the first haluchos, the first Torah, the tablets we were given, shem b'farhesia, right? Upirsum, tremendous publicity. Bechinat haluchot ha'achronot, shem tzniya v'hester. But contrary, on the other side of the coin, the second luchos, which we have today, the luchos that we live with. The second Kabbalas Torah was the Kabbalas Torah of tznius, because that's the essential way that we live our lives. V'hester miramezim gam al beit bechinot havoda. So these 2 moments, historical moments, these 2 Kabbalas Torahs, or Nesinas, givings of the Torah, are emblematic of the 2 dimensions of our avoda, of how we live our lives as Jews. Habechina ha'achat hi ha'avoda shel haluchot harishonot, shenitnu b'toch simcha v'tov lev. There's a time and a place for simcha and singing zmiris and joy, right? That's very important. Mitoch nekiyut v'tar ha'machshava, achar ha'achana shel memtat yom, right? That's after 49 days, right? It's talking about, from Pesach to Shavuos. V'zeu avoda shehi b'vchinat yom. All right, we're just going to darshan a pasuk. I don't think we have to do the pasuk. The pasuk says, "Lahagid baboker chasdecha ve'emunacha b'leilot." Right? The pasuk David HaMelech says, "Lahagid baboker chasdecha." I have to talk about your chesed in the daytime, and emunatcha balayl, and is emuna at night. So what he's saying here, metaphorically, saying a pshat in this pasuk, that in the yom, in the day, the daylight is excitement, right? The chesed, but at night, Lila, you also have that Lila, the quietude, the private avodas Hashem. I think that's what he wants to say with that pasuk. Okay, that's it. Thank you all.